a rally table back there.
Hey, Greg, right here.
Yeah. I know where that's coming from. Because what the partner needs on the container outside. Did see one car pull in, but. Hmm?
Do you want to queue up
We are live. I usually run that like 5 minutes ahead. That way people come on, they see that we're on. So it's already running right now. We have 3 people.
Just gonna sit in the stands and watch. I got a coach rehab right now.
Well, good evening and welcome everyone. It is 6:30 and I think we're gonna go ahead and get the meeting started. Welcome to everyone here in the room and also those that are tuning in on our live stream. My name is Marty Clemmer. I'm the current elder chair, and want to start our meeting out here in prayer. And I would just go ahead and say that if during the meeting you would like to get up and help yourself to some more of the refreshments there, it's informal enough that I think we can certainly do that. So let's bow our heads and start the meeting out here with the word of prayer. Father God, we just want to thank you for the opportunity that we have to come here this evening. We just want to thank you for so many blessings that you've provided to each one of us and to the church family here. We want to thank you for the tremendous weather that we had today and all the things that you're doing in us and in the church. And we just pray that you would be with us here this evening. We ask for your presence and a blessing on our conversation. And we want to lift all this up to you. In Jesus' name, amen. Okay, to start us out this evening, Tim is going to come up and share some ministry things.
All right, thank you, Marty. There we go, thank you, Marty. Well, good to see you guys, and those on the live stream, good to see you guys here too, virtually. Some of you know I live in Gap, and when I come down the hill from our wonderful little compound, as we call it, there, sometimes I can see the fog resting in the valley below as we come out from up above it. And as I think about that picture, it kind of reminded me of words that we've been trying to find in leadership to describe the world in which we're living in right now. I think any of you who are in leadership in organizations, businesses, or even churches feel a little bit like the fog has settled in for the past year and a half on your ability to see as far as maybe you used to be able to see. What will the future be like? And you know, when fog settles in, nowadays with cars they have the fog lights that help with the lower level, but before that you actually had to teach your kids or yourself to look to the right or the left. Find the white line right on the right so you don't fall off the road, and keep the yellow line in track so you don't go on the other side. You can still see, just can't see as far. And in a way, that's kind of how I feel still around the COVID world that we're in as a church. I feel like we can still see, but I don't come to this vision meeting, and I think our staff don't come either, with a sense of, in a pre-COVID world, I think we could see a lot farther than we can right now. And so I just want to be honest with that the fog is not totally cleared. And I think we know that with what we see in our world right now, across sectors, not just in the church world. So we do see a couple things, and I guess what I think about in that fog is, where are the points of confidence that you can go to, right? Where are the points of clarity or certainty that you know when things are a little foggy? And I was thinking through just a few things. One, we've been preaching through Galatians, the gospel remains a point of clarity and confidence for me, and I think for the church. I'm also very confident in the vision of Grace Point. As we think about where we've been, this idea of being in the town square, being relentless in pursuit of the social, spiritual, cultural good, that remains one of those look down, white line, yellow line, keep it on the rails, right? Also, I would say our staff, very much so. I'm very confident and very grateful for our staff here at Grace Point. And also our key partners in our community have been tremendous to work with as we equally kind of work our way through this fog, if you will, together. So we can see some things and we can do some things. We just don't have a beautiful, clear day quite yet. But I believe the sun is burning off some of that fog as we go, and we're moving forward. And so the format for this evening is we want to share some of those things that we can see. We're not totally blind in this situation, that's for sure, but it's just a little more difficult to tell what exactly will the future hold in its entirety, right? I guess if I could do that, I might, might need to write a book or, do something else with that. But so this evening, what we're going to do is I'm going to share just a few more minutes here, and then we'll have some Q&A for you around whatever I have to share here, and then our ministry staff will come up and share for about 5 minutes at a shot, and then at the back end of that, you can ask any questions you have with that. And we also have communication cards or connection cards on your table. If there are questions that you have that you feel like, oh, I have it, but I don't think I can ask it publicly, it's more of a private thing that I might just want to know, you can write that down if you don't feel comfortable asking that. Also, at a couple points tonight, there will be some volunteer opportunities that will come up for you. If you want to volunteer or get more information on it, you can use that connection card for that as well, okay? So with that being said, let me just walk through some of where where we're going. Again, one of my confidence points, one of the places that I look to kind of keep us on the road here is the vision of the church. We talk about the town square imagery being a transforming presence there. We talk about the social, spiritual, and cultural good, those three things all the time. If you haven't heard us talk about that, social good is how people connect to people, spiritual is how people connect to God, cultural, how people connect to the systems around them, like the education, economic, housing, transportation system, those kind of things, okay? So as a staff, we've been talking about seeing the next year and a half, really through 2022, through that lens. How do we engage with the most pressing social needs, spiritual needs, and cultural needs that we see right in front of us going forward into the next year? And so as we've talked about that, my talk here briefly will be around the social, spiritual, and cultural good and some things right in line with that. So I just want you to know, from a social side, one of the kingpins that we see is an increase, significant increase in social isolation and loneliness post-COVID. That a lot of people, because of restrictions, whatever you may want to call it, have dealt with and are dealing with increased mental health crises, increased anxiety, depression, loneliness, and social isolation. So we are trying to step into that space with intentionality. It is a difficult one to step into because one of our greatest challenges is identifying who is lonely. Because most people don't wear that, as a sticker on their chest here or whatever, like, I'm lonely, I need a friend. And so as we are thinking about how do we handle that, that's one of our great challenges. But we have been able to do a couple things that I'm really grateful for. I just want you to know about them. With Carla's connection to the factory and here to GPC, we've been able to work with the mentorship program at the factory. We plan to continue doing that. Some of you have been involved with that. We also have been working with the social workers at Peckley Valley. And as needs arise, they reach out to us. Just this week, and if you got your happenings and were diligent enough to read through them, which I know you all do every week, there we go. You will see that in there this week, the social workers at the school reached out to us and said, we have a single mom who has COVID. She has 3 kids in each of the elementary, middle, and high school level, and she could use some help. It's beyond what the school can do. Is there any way that the church can reach out to her? She actually lives not even a half a mile from the church down here on Route 30. And so we have created meal sign up, 5 nights for sign up there. Those kind of things show up in the happenings, that they're a direct result of the relationship we have with the school. And as needs arise, we do those things. The same thing, in the same vein, I got a call today from Dr. O, the superintendent, asking for help because, and we'll talk more about this one a little bit later, but they have a need tomorrow for volunteers to help with gym aid and recess aid. You may wonder, well, why is that important? The reason that's important is because they're taking their teachers and their paraeducators and taking kids. You're either going to get to learn to read tomorrow, or you get to go to gym tomorrow, but we're not going to be able to do both if we don't have enough people. And so they are, like many other businesses and even churches, dealing with a volunteer and workforce problem. They don't have enough people right now. So they had a crisis, if you will, and they reached out to Grace Point, because they're like, Grace Point typically can help, so let's see if they can help, and can anyone help tomorrow? So there's an email about that. If you want to help with either one of those and are not sure about the email and don't feel like doing that, that's a connection card thing for you. If you'd like to write down, that for tomorrow, we can get you information on that, okay? We're also working with the factory and other PIN partners through PennMed LGH to try to identify points of need that we have there in that space. There has been talk about, I don't know what will happen with the development of a senior center in our area. That is something that we're working on the back burner with the factory. Okay, so that's social good. Spiritual good, I just want you to know, as we think about how do we invite people to know, we feel like as a staff, we want to invite people to see God as a trustworthy God in a time of disruption. That our lives have been incredibly disrupted, and how can we bring people to see God's trustworthiness in the middle of chaos? So some things that are happening and have been happening. The Brooklyn House, which is our rental unit over here, has been used already for, I'm trying to think of what I can say here, has been used for ministry purposes through the factory in a very successful way. We already had a family through that, and now have another one in that now. So that's a real win. I don't know if you knew that, just want to make sure you know that. We're also exploring ways to take our content, our teaching content, outside of Grace Point. A while ago, we did a True False seminar. Some of you were part of that seminar at the Factory Ministries. as a result of that, there's actually 2 new families who consider Grace Point their home church now who are coming here because of just the step out into our community there. And they so much appreciated that conversation. Once the Factory Event Center is done, we're talking about how can we do similar things like that and continue to reach into our community with content that we think can be helpful for people, whether you're churched or non-churched. Some of you have heard, I just want you to know, if you haven't heard yet, that we're looking to kick off adult small groups beginning in the new year. If you have interest in that, that's something you can also write down in your connection card there. If you have interest in either being a part of it or leading or hosting, but January through May, we're looking to run basically a semester of small group stuff in the new year. Something you can pray for us about too, and all this you can pray for us about, but the missions team is trying to process what we do with international travel for next year. We're considering a missions trip to DR, as many of you know about that in the past. We're also considering a trip to Ghana. The problem, not just one problem, but COVID-related travel restrictions in the unknown is a real question. So if we were to go to the Dominican right now, if anyone on our team were to test positive in the airport on the way home, they would have to stay in the DR on their own dime and quarantine in a hotel with a leader for X number of days until they're free and clear. These decisions, this is kind of what creates that leadership fog. Like, should it be done? Should it not be done? And who pays for that? Clearly, we'd have to pay for that. And do you want to be in a hotel room with, a team for 5 days until they're done with COVID, assuming that they go in the right direction? So there's a lot of questions around that just makes decisions like that a little more difficult, to make during this time. All right. Again, this is just so you know, we continue to offer pastoral hours. Some of you may not know we do that at the factory. They're used intermittently. Basically what happens is participants come into the factory and they connect with an advocate, and the advocate asks if they have any spiritual needs, if they want to talk with a pastor in the area about any spiritual needs. Every now and then we get a yes to that question. I've made myself available, our staff, ministry staff is available for that. And so that is a piece that, again, as we think about how can we step into a world in where there's been disruption, that is another thing that we have been doing and will continue to do as well, okay? And finally, in the spiritual realm, I do want you to know, we think that the success of the church is important, capital C, is that right? Lowercase c, I don't know. Anyway, not just Grace Point Church, but the kingdom of God. And so we have been working with developing, we have now about 8 or 10, I think about 8 or 10 different pastors and churches that are getting together on a monthly basis now that we're not getting together before COVID, because our interest is in the success of the church in our area, not just Grace Point Church. And so we're really glad to see that. They're actually going to be meeting here next month for lunch, and we're talking through how can the church take collective responsibility for those outside of faith in our communities, and what does that look like? And so we're excited to be a part of that, the genesis of that, and moving that forward. Okay. Finally, I want to talk about the cultural good. That was in the spiritual good realm. The cultural good, there are things we're doing in that space. In a minute, I'm going to stop my talk and let you interact here if you'd like. Culturally, again, this is how people connect the systems around them. I want you to know in the Together Initiative Network, the network has decided, and you may have heard me say this before, but they've decided that a key principle for them is to address the 3rd grade reading level in our area. Now, that may sound weird and obscure, like why that? Because here's the deal, that they know that if a kid who is not reading at grade level by 3rd grade is 10 times more likely to be in generational poverty. So what we're trying to get under is how can we reduce and ultimately get behind the problem of generational poverty. One of those kingpins and the key data point around that is how can we get kids reading at grade level by 3rd grade. So the various sectors in our community are coming together to try to work with that. The faith community is part of that, educational community, health community, social service community is a part of that. There are going to be ways that we can work through that will become clearer even as the weeks roll on. Right now, 62% of our 3rd graders are reading at grade level in our area. And so if you translate that out, you will then realize 38% of our kids are at risk of being 10 times more likely to be in generational poverty. That's just the data right now. Our goal is to move that from 62% to 90% in 5 years. So to do that, we have some plans. I'm not going to go through all those plans right now, but that, just so you know, that is moving forward there. Also, this from the cultural level, if you're a business leader in the community, I want you to be aware of this. We're hearing the question constantly, where have all the workers gone? You know, why can't we hire people? Where do they go? We've been working with Kitchen Kettle, Equay Valley, the factory, and a couple other local businesses around the problem of hiring, and even, you know, where in the world did everybody go? So the workforce development conversation is what we're having. If that's something that's of interest to you, to be a part of that or to hear more about that, we have meetings coming up, even one coming up on Monday. I'd be glad to have you be a part of it if you want to. But we're trying to, again, create a space where there is business flourishing, so there can be human flourishing, so there can be jobs that work to sustain a living wage for people in their homes. Okay. Finally, two other things, and then I'm going to be done. We're having some shakeup of our staff a little bit in terms of allocations. So Greg will be releasing adult ministry oversight to me, so I'll be picking up adult ministry oversight, and then he'll be spending more time in the worship realm. So just like I speak 75 or 80% of the time at Grace Point, Greg will kind of be leading worship about that amount of time going forward. So we have had a rotation, and now the rotation will change a little bit, and Greg will be more primary in doing that. In order to make that happen, I'm taking adult ministry from him. It's a minor thing, but I do want you to know about that, okay? Also, a couple weeks ago, Tanya Mass, I think you're on live stream. Hi, Tanya. It's good to see you. Tanya is going to be stepping down from her role in that social media graphic design realm, and so we are very sad about that because none of us have that gift or talent. And so we feel, again, the gift of her time and energies over the years has been amazing. So we are looking for solutions in that space. We just want you to know Tanya will be rolling on from there, okay? All right, I've said a lot and gone over time already, setting a great example for everybody else in the room. All right, let me pause here. I really blitzed you with a lot of stuff, just one after the other. But let me pause and say, are there any questions or comments you have here about anything you want clarity on? Any way that anything we can address? In a minute, you'll hear from Greg, and then Kevin, and then Katie will go forward there, and you'll hear from our interns, Megan and Devin. So there's more to come. But from what you've heard to this point, is there anything that you have that I can help provide clarity on from my seat? All right. Then I will not belabor it unless there's any hands that are going up. All right. If you have anything, you can write down your card. Otherwise, I'm going to get out of this space then and give it over to Greg.
Multiple duties tonight. We're going good. I'm going to be rolling adult ministries, worship, environment, and executive functions all together in 5 minutes for you. And I'm going to wrap. Doing it a wrap. No, I'm not doing it. I'm going to wrap it up. How's that? Yeah. But anyway, you know, as Tim mentioned, the fog and the challenges in front of us, it really goes across the board on all 3 of those realms that I deal with, and so I kind of want to run them all together. And you know what we're seeing is still even a fog in people not knowing what their new patterns are going to be yet either. So it's hard to really start establishing systems or discipleship models or worship models until we kind of get out of this. So it's a little bit of a moving target for us. People are still loosely returning to their new normals and trying to decide what their priorities are and where they are placing things and what they're going to be doing. So that has been changing the landscape of our ministry and our church, and obviously, you know, that shouldn't be shocking to anybody here. As we look at some of the numbers and kind of see where things are at, the people that call GPC their home church, we're probably down about 30 people that we would label that call GPC their home church. But our average Sunday morning attendance is more like 80 people less on average. And so what we're seeing in that is is it basically went along with national trends even before it hit this area, whereas the people that go to church don't go every Sunday. And I know those in the room are like, what? Like, you always go Sunday and Sunday night and Wednesday nights too, right? But national trends even before COVID were that, you know, two times a month was kind of the national average. And now COVID, now we're seeing that. You know, it's very common for us to see someone, even who is engaged, and the GPC is my home church, and I'm volunteering, and come maybe one time a month. So our attendance is reflecting that reality, kind of magnifying that. What that does is then trickles down to everything else too. And it says, okay, well, what does our discipleship model look like? If it was built around the Sunday school being primary, and because people were here every week and you could establish things, well, maybe that's not the only model that works now in the climate that we're in and maybe moving towards. We're still keeping the Sunday school, the Connect group, as an option because that hits a need. We're adding, you know, Mom and Sense is starting up here too in January, which is awesome. The Happy Hearts still gathers. So we're not looking at changing any of that, but we are looking at, okay, what does this mean to discipleship in today's climate? What does it mean for GPC for discipleship? What does it mean for our volunteers structure that we use? What does it mean across the board for even how we run the church and how we're set up with committees? And you know, we're revamping the food services committee, the trustees, all those things that were kind of like built upon volunteers that were here every week isn't available. So we're kind of restructuring, well, everything, and keeping things moving at the same time. So we have our ear to the ground. Like Tim said, we're meeting with other churches. This is a shared problem across the board. We are aware that we're not at a settled place yet, so you don't want to make too many moves at this point either, but we're kind of just, you know, brainstorming things, and as with everyone across the board, all ministries across the board are doing. The other thing that I wanted to just pull out a little bit is this staff and key leader fatigue. And it's a real thing. We're not alone in this as staff, so it's kind of weird for me to be saying about this, but I'm representing the other staff as well. And anyone in leadership, a lot of you as well. There's been a lot of change, a lot of what used to take this amount of energy to plan an event like VBS. Well, now it takes 5 times the amount of energy because you have to have contingent plans. You're not sure of that, and then you need dates to know when you need to know, make that call and all that. And you know, I'm getting a name in from Katie. Everything just takes a little bit more, and when you do that for a year and a half, it gets tiring. And so we are aware of that. And then you have the emotional loss of relationship with people as well. We're aware of that. We are kind of as a ministry team walking through mental health right now and kind of looking at that. We're encouraging one another, but that is something that is affecting us as a church. Anytime you're in a long time of heightened crisis management, that can lead obviously to fatigue, organizational fatigue. So we're watching that. We're aware of that. Wins, you know, I'm very grateful for everyone in the room, everyone is connected here with GPC. Some amazing, amazing people. And I feel a little bit like, was it 10 years ago when we kind of we're boxing around a little bit and got hit and we like, hey, we're still standing. I kind of feel the same way. It's like, hey, we took a hit here, but we're still standing. We have our core values. We have some great people. We are still focused on mission. We're focused on how can we create fully devoted followers of Christ, in-house, outside in our community, and that is still our focus, and our eyes aren't taken off of that. So I'm appreciative of that. So that's kind of what's happening in the global adult ministry. Tim mentioned about the small groups, about the worship, and the executive stuff that's going on. At this point, turn it over to Kevin.
Thanks, yeah. My name's Kevin. I'm the pastor of student ministries here, and yeah, there's been a lot of different aspects to navigate and things to roll through, and a couple of my confidence points are my volunteer lead team for sure, and just the adaptability of our students. Like, those things have been very consistent even through some uncertain times, so that's been helpful for me. wanted to talk about a few things. We have a core group of boys that has been meeting for a number of years that's kind of emerging as this, this core self-leading group that brings a lot of energy to each of our gatherings. And then we have had an emphasis on small groups that allows us to go a little bit deeper with students and a continuing relationship with the factory as well. So I wanted to talk about those three things a little bit further. First the core group, then second the small groups, and finally our relationship with the factory that continues. This core group of boys led by Dylan Salyards kind of self-identified as the core group. They are even making t-shirts. So they are self-leading in every sense of the word. They've even asked Dylan to oversee what they're doing, but to step a little bit back from direct leadership and doing everything. So that's been super encouraging for me. Then the small groups, like I said, allows us that opportunity to make a personal touch with students. So we're gathering like average 50 students here on Sunday, but we want them to still feel like they're able to make that personal connection with somebody, and that's their small group leader. So that's been also something that's been really, really encouraging. Chad Kunkel joined our team last year and started working with the 8th graders. He connected so well with them, we decided to move him up to 9th grade so he could stay with that group of boys. And that was something that was just neat to have that conversation with him and the rest of the team and everybody be on board with that. Just makes a lot of sense. Then we had a number of weeks ago, we had a visiting student jump into a girls' small group, and she said at some point along the way that she made this statement, "Hey, you guys are really open and welcoming." And I was like, when I heard that, that's one of our goals, is to create a culture of welcome. So when I heard that articulated by a guest, someone that was just visiting for that one night, that was really cool. And then thirdly, a partnership with the factory. We've been able to kind of continue developing that relationship with them. They're really good at plugging us into service opportunities, and they know where the needs are in the community. So we don't have to kind of reinvent the wheel on that. And we've gotten to work with Carla, and Lauren Petersheim was interning there as well. So we've had a chance to really capitalize on those relational connections. We have been invited to help decorate the factory for one of our service nights for Christmas. So I'm letting Lauren Petersheim run with that because that's definitely her thing. And I think Andrea Ebersol is really excited about doing that too. So that's cool that they're reaching back out to us too for those opportunities. And then we were also able to be involved in a service Sunday with the Little Braves program and the mentorship there. We have some older students that have made connections with that program, and then we were able to bring the whole group over to the factory, play games, and just connect with those kids. And that's something that I would love to see more of in the future as we move forward, to really make those connections and make that touch point with the community. A couple of things, these are kind of like just some miscellaneous items, but this goes into the junior high and the young adults. A comment from one of our leaders was that they've been really impressed by the maturity of our middle school students. And I mean, that's kind of shocking. Like, I almost am kind of taken aback by that. But yes, they're still, coming into who they are and trying to figure out who they are, but they're able to have a mature conversation in small groups. That's astounding. So Really kind of impressed by that. And then we're seeing students at junior high events whose families don't come here. So their families don't attend, but a friend brought them, and they've continued to come, time and time again. And that's incredible to me. In terms of young adults, we're starting to get some traction in that area too. We had a group that met over the summer for a book study, and they've continued to try and be consistent in meeting throughout the year, even though we've got people all over the place at schools, different vocations, and there's, for the first time actually since I've been here, feeling like, hey, this has some momentum. This is actually beginning to be a group that's meeting regularly. Their idea is to create a place to come home to. That's their vision for moving forward. So we'll keep doing that and keep you posted with that stuff. That's all. Katie.
All right, so I'm Katie. I'm the Kids Min Director, and just wanted to start with sharing a scripture that I've been thinking about lately that comes from Mark 2, verse 22. And no one pours new wine into old wineskins. Otherwise the wine will burst the skins, and both the wine and the wineskins will be ruined. No, they pour new wine into new wineskins. Now, as I was talking to Austin about this, he's like, do you realize you're the kids ministry director and you're talking about alcohol? So let's just change it to juice into juice boxes, and then maybe that'll work, right? But no, the idea of that for me, just thinking about this past year and even moving forward, that you can't sometimes put new ideas into old practices. And I feel like that's something that COVID has really shaped my mind. And it's still kind of shaping my mind. Like Tim alluded to the fog. I'm definitely in the fog as well, just thinking about what's upcoming. But my hope for 2022 is just to be open to new ideas, and that God would prepare my heart to be open to new ideas and new thinking, whether that's new programming or different ways to do programming, to share the gospel with kids without holding too tightly to those old wineskins, which that can be hard for me to do. I have some ideas and some good leading questions around what are the best ways to do Sunday school? What are the best ways to do Blast or VBS? I don't have anything set or clear yet to be able to share, but I'm hoping that becomes a little bit more clear in the next couple months of what that looks like. Obviously this past year has been challenging, maybe just as a woman, just thinking through emotionally the processing of some of the relationships that have been lost. And just trying to be flexible with what our new Kids Min landscape looks like. We're at about 40 to 50% attendance, what we used to be. So that makes it a lot different for the kids. Some of their friends aren't here anymore, and so I know that's hard. It also makes it hard for volunteers, and how hard we work to staff our rooms, and then sometimes there's not enough kids to even come, and so the volunteers get a morning off, which maybe is nice for them, but I want them to feel like they have purpose. So that's been hard, and just lamenting the pain of losing those families has been challenging, but I'm excited about some of the new families who have been joining, who are coming, and they're jumping into serving, and the kids are super sweet, so I'm excited about that. Some wins from this past year, which I'm hoping to build on for this upcoming year too. We were able to provide parents with some resources and support. So we did a meal prep party. Some of the moms in our church were able to put together crock pot meals to put in the freezer. I know Steph was part of that. It was so helpful. So we wanted to build a fellowship space for moms to be able to do that for busy seasons. We also provided an Easter egg devotional for some families who signed up for it at Easter. So families could really take the role of being the spiritual leader in their home and go through those, what are they called? Resurrection eggs, and could go through those together just to, I feel like my heart is really looking at family ministry and building into the parents being spiritual leaders. And so I felt that like that was something that parents could do with their kids to really build into them. And I'll be sharing something for Christmas this year, kind of a similar idea. And I opened that idea up to community families. I had 13 families sign up for that. If you're a GPC family, I see 2 of you over there. You'll be getting them soon, I promise. But I was encouraged that about 25% of the community families that I shared this idea with for Christmas, 25% of them are not plugged into a church family. So I felt like that was a big win, that we're able to get some church resources, spiritual resources for families who aren't involved in church family. VBS was a huge win this year. We had record numbers, over 100 kids on the first night. I can't even remember, Megan, maybe you remember, like 110, 120, something like that. It was great, so we were super excited and thrilled about that. And we were able to increase some parent connection with that too. And I know Blas is looking into that, which I won't take your thunder. Megan's going to share that soon. Lastly, I've just been really grateful to have Megan's help as an intern. Just doing some extra things that I don't have time to do on a limited part-time hours. And just also some program strategizing that we've been able to work on, just kind of questioning and looking at our ministries, looking at Sunday school, looking at ways that we can bring kids back to Jesus even better. So she's going to share a little bit about what she's been doing, but I've been really grateful for her help.
Yeah, as Katie said, I'm currently interning with Katie, and I'm also a student at Lancaster Bible College right now. But I'm just going to talk a little bit about what I've been doing here at Grace Point and some of the biggest takeaways I've learned so far. So I've gotten to be a part of the Grace Kids Lead team and learning a lot about our curriculum and how Kidsman is run here at Grace Point. Getting opportunities to teach, which I'm super thankful for because that's something I really wanted to grow in during my internship. And also just doing some professional development with Katie. And one of the biggest things I've been doing is Blast, which Katie touched on a little bit, but I'm co-leading Blast currently with Carla Neff, or she's Biley now, but and that has been a super awesome opportunity. We've had to rethink Blast a little bit this year. We normally would hold Blast at the factory, but due to construction, we weren't able to have it there this year, so we moved it back to the church. And because we also took a break last year from Blast, we saw it as an opportunity just to rethink the program and why we do it, and not just continue it because it's something that we've always done, but really look at the needs of the kids and how we can best love them during this time. So we have had it going for 2 weeks now, and the layout of the night is to make it feel more homey, and kids have like small groups that they spend a lot of their night with. We just wanted them to have a place where they could come each week and know that they have a leader that is there and able to just connect with them. And our theme for Blast this year is Jesus Is, and we've been using an awesome curriculum that just goes through a bunch of different aspects of who Jesus is, because Katie and I, over the summer, were reading a book called Show Them Jesus, and just talking a lot about the importance of kids knowing who Jesus is, not just what it looks like to be a Christian or how to be a Christian, but really forming that relationship with Christ. And so we've really been focusing on that, and it's been super awesome so far. We've had 35 kids last week, and we have almost 60 kids registered. 14 of those kids are not connected to a church, and there's a lot of new faces each week, and it's been just a cool opportunity to connect with parents who aren't might not be connected with a church. And yeah, it's just been an awesome opportunity, and the kids have had a ton of fun so far. Like on Sunday at church, I heard them talking about how much fun they had at Blast and what they were learning about. So I think it's going really well so far, and it's just been awesome to see our volunteers pouring into the kids, and I feel like the kids are getting a lot out of it so far. Yeah, and then just 2 of the biggest takeaways that I've gotten from interning so far are how to be adaptable. As everyone else has talked about, there's been a lot of changes happening, and I've just been able to see the staff here walk with such humility and grace and be willing to change and not just do things because that's how we've always done them, but look at the needs of the people around us and the people in our church, and how can we best love and minister to them in the times we're in. So I think just getting to watch that, and I've learned a lot about how I can apply that to my ministry in the future. Yeah, and then the last big takeaway that I'll mention is the second book that Katie and I are reading right now is about family ministry, and just thinking about how we can best equip and encourage parents to be the main spiritual leaders for their children, because it's not just the church's responsibility to raise up their kids, but wanting to provide resources and just encouraging parents that they are the main people in their kids' lives that should be pointing them and discipling them to Christ, and yeah, how to support them best in that. So yeah.
It's much different to be up here than it is out there. I'm Devin Clemmer. I am serving as an intern. I'm currently a student at Lancaster Bible College also, and I'm in the pastoral ministry program. And I am currently interning with Tim, and just give an overview of what I'm doing within that and sort of what that looks like and reasons why I'm deciding to intern here, and then close it out. So a little bit of what I do with Tim is every week we meet together, and I will also meet with the ministry team here and just sort of talk about what ministry really looks like on a day-to-day basis, and trying to understand the way Tim goes about his work here. And on one-on-one meetings with him, I've been learning a lot about church structure, the different roles of each ministry leader, and how he relates to them. And right now we're currently in the process of going through his sermon prep, which has been really awesome for me to see. I'm currently preparing for a teaching sort of thing here in the Sunday school hour for Connect Group. And then I'll be going to a local church here that we have a connection with and giving a sermon in the next couple weeks. So I'm getting to learn a little bit about how Tim goes about it and how he even delivers it and works through it. There's a lot that goes into it that I've been highly encouraged in to learn, and will look to apply maybe in the future as I explore pastoral ministry. And then also with that, I mentioned that I would meet with Tim and the rest of the ministry staff, and that's been really cool to see how Tim interacts with the rest of the staff and how they all work together in ministry. Ministry is a very collaborative process, and just seeing how he approaches that and leads staff has been really incredible to see from my perspective. Trying to see what I didn't cover. And also, part of pastoral ministry is the unpredictability of it. That's sort of what I've been learning. And for me, who doesn't like the unpredictable, and going through COVID is pretty much the most unpredictable season that I've been in. And I'm sure that's the same for most of us too. And some of the things that come up, my first day actually interning with Tim was going to a member's house after their spouse would have passed. So I jumped in right away to learn about funerals. And sort of that unpredictability factor in pastoral ministry has been really awesome to learn about, because you have to be flexible, you have to understand there's a lot going on in people's lives, and to be there for them, to be there for people is a really amazing thing that I've found to be in pastoral ministry. And learning from Tim has been a huge blessing in that. So sort of the why I wanted to get into this. I am interested in entering pastoral ministry in the future. That's what I'm studying at Lancaster Bible College. And I have an interest in working in some church context in the future. I don't think I've settled in on pastoral ministry, but that is a huge focus of mine and something that I'm wanting to grow in as a high probability. That's what I could be doing in the future. But also with coming here to GPC is I've been here all my life, and I've gotten to see Tim and this ministry staff and this team really come together, and I've been really encouraged with where the church is and where this church desires to go. And just to be a part of that and to see Tim's leadership through all of it is a hugely encouraging thing, and again, a blessing to be under him and shadowing him in all of the facets of what he does. But also, sort of lastly, in getting into this, I, in the future, really want to be a witness for Christ, and in this, I really like to enter some sort of vocational ministry. And again, I'm not sure exactly what that looks like, and some of that is a little bit of a fog per se. We keep going with that theme tonight, but getting that ability to speak into lives for Christ and to reveal the hope of Christ is something that I'm learning is a huge thing for me. And to explore this in pastoral ministry and vocational ministry is a hugely exciting thing for me right now with where I'm at. So overall, I'm highly encouraged to be here and to shadow Tim and get to learn from him and keep growing and learning in pastoral ministry and internship here. So that's what I got.
Yeah, it's great having them part of the staff meetings and just around, and thankful for all that you guys are doing as interns, especially thank you for that. Before we go on to the more exciting parts, finances, are there any questions? We want to stop and allow time for questions. Again, the connection card is there if you have anything you want to write down that you want to pass on to us, or if there is a question you don't want to ask in front of everybody, you can do that, and we'll get back to you within a reasonable timeline of 3 months. And yeah, so any questions from what you've heard so far? Wow, we did a great job, guys. We must have done a phenomenal job. Or we just blitzed them with so much stuff that it's not, yeah, maybe one of the two, but no. Or we fell asleep, okay? Honesty is important, especially coming from a past pastor. You know what this is like, yeah. But anyway, yes. So, well, we will go on. Let me change the slide because that's important. Change that. Finances. No secret where we're at because we show you each week in the happenings where we're at. Now, the reality of that, what does that mean? I mean, you look at that number and you say, okay, we're 100,000 short on budget. Okay, well, the lights are still on, like stuff is still happening, so what's going on? We typically budget higher than what our giving typically comes in, but it gives us a framework to kind of how we do ministries and how we look at things and how we kind of, well, if everything, you could, move your ministry in the way you wanted, kind of what would it look like kind of thing. So we typically do not, our expenses are lower than our budget, and that's usually where we're at. The reality of where we're at right now is about $22,000 short of giving. Expenses are about $22,000 over giving this year. Even that is fairly common for us. Typically, that happens, and we have the year-end share life thing and kind of make up for it. So it's not something we're seeing out of a normal rhythm, but it is kind of where we're at financially. The good news is giving, especially per family unit, per person, that giving that we've been receiving has been staying very steady as it was pre-COVID. Actually, it's even more with online giving, it's more consistent. We used to have a lot of highs, a lot of lows, a lot of highs, a lot of lows. Now it's fairly consistent, which is nice to have that as well. So the actual like giving per attendance is actually really high because we don't have as many people attending. And our giving overall, we're down about maybe 5,000. So it's really, we're giving, you know, what we'd normally be giving. What we're seeing though is in past years we received large gifts of like 35,000, 30,000. And some of those gifts that came that we did not receive this year. So the giving per person, that kind of thing, is still stable, still strong. And kind of where we're at is still, I would say, healthy, okay. I mean, we're alerted to it. The ministry staff and the elders each week get a report of exactly where we're at, expenses versus income, and where we're at as far as having money in different allocations, so we know where we're at. So we kind of, you know, keep that in mind as we're doing things, and that impacts our decisions to kind of try to keep that as close as possible. So that happens. So you might wonder, and what happens if we don't hit budget, which we normally don't, or what happens if it gets worse, kind of thing. And the elders kind of have this priority list that we kind of run through in case we would need to. The first thing we do, and we do this about every year to be honest with you, is eliminate all non-emergency capital expenses. And even those budget line items that you would love to be, you know, those big ticket items down the road that you should be saving up for, and you can do this in your personal life too. It's like, oh, it'd be nice if I was saving up because I'm going to need a new roof sometime, you know, but sometimes you just can't. And so those are the kind of things that we have built into the budget to be able to store up, you know, finances for those things. But when giving isn't there, the money's not there, we don't do that. So we have large items like the parking lot, a lot of fun. I mean, that's a great capital, everyone wants to give to that, right? But it's a huge chunk, you know. Stuff like that we should be putting the money away for, we're in the budget we call to put money away for, we're not putting away for. So when that would come, you know, do we do a capital drive, do we borrow money? You know, there's options when we get to that point. So the first thing we do is eliminate that. That's a huge chunk, believe it or not, is this looking ahead, new programs, new things that we would like to do if we could kind of thing. Those kind of things get eliminated. We borrow from other funds. We have about $52,000 in our account from the rentals, income from the rentals. You know, we don't want to keep some in there for repairs, but that is money that's in our checking account that we have borrowed from in other years. Not borrowed, we've stole from, honestly, and then replenished it when we got money back. So that's available. The benevolence fund is extremely healthy. It's around 20,000. We also have about 58,000 of our budget. I mean, it goes 10% off of our budget that we have in a reserve fund. That's cash that, hey, in case things get tough, we have this. So we set that all aside, and whatever's left is kind of what we have and what we view that we're working with. So we borrow from other funds. Next level is we could ask the congregation for special giving. Hey guys, we need, you know, this is where we're at. We need help in this. We could consider taking out a line of credit on the building. We're debt free here, so we could do that. We could consider cutting and reducing costs for programs, and we do that a lot as throughout the year. We could consider selling our rentals and putting that money in. That'd be kind of an influx, but wouldn't be a long term, but that would be something, an asset that we could liquefy. The last things are the ones that we kind of really try not to touch, and that is our missions. What we commit to giving in missions on the budget, we give. That one we haven't touched. We can reduce staff hours or pay is another thing that we can do, but we try not to do. And lastly is even lay off staff and do that. So those are the three that we kind of try not to do, but you know, reality is you have to look at where the money's at. So that's kind of the order of how we see things when we're in crunch time, so to speak. This year, the end of the year, we will be doing the Share Life campaign like we normally do. It's a great event. Again, thanks for last year. We were in a good position financially, and we did a capital drive for the sanctuary remodel, raised about $70,000 on top. We're able to do that. It was funny, I got a comment, Tim got a comment actually from someone, a funeral director, that came, and it was something that, you know, we don't really even think about. I didn't even think about. But they were like, man, we're so glad you guys remodeled and changed the carpet because it used to have a real musty smell in here. Like it really kind of, you know, it's like, I didn't even know that. Like, really? Did it? You know, and, you know, stuff that we're just used to, you know, it's normal, you know. So it's stuff like that that we don't think about, that other people, as a guest comes in, would think about. So, great, thank you again so much for that. The Share Life this year, majority of that will go to, you know, the budget, because basically the budget is our ministry. The budget is how we reach out to other people in our ministries that we're doing. So replenishing that, building that, but out of a spirit of generosity, we want to model that as a church as well. So there'll be a few targeted additional items that we're going to throw into the Share Life as well that will go above the budget and above the general, you know, missions here. So we're working on finalizing those. One is probably will be with the school kids, helping with reading. There's something there, a program coming that we can help out with that financially. So that might be it. We're working out those details. But we want to model that hey, even though, yeah, we could use the money, we want to model generosity and giving to our community and giving outward as well. And especially at the end of the year, it's a nice thing to get behind as well. So kind of moving into the budget proposal that's in front of you, that members will be voting on here very shortly. Really, we're kind of across the board kept things fairly the same. The increase is about 6,000 over last year, and really 8,000 of that is, quite honestly, it's cost of living increases for the staff. So that's kind of built in there. We trimmed the ministry by about 2,000. So we're looking at about a 6,000 increase. So really it's kind of still a flat kind of what we've been operating in as a budget. There's no real surprises in there. Some of the, with Tanya leaving, some of the staffing thing might get reallocated. We might have to outsource somewhere else, but I mean, it's still money. But some of that might change a little bit because of that. But yeah, what you have in front of you is kind of what we've been doing and kind of where we're at with that. Are there any questions about finances, or even more specifically, even about the budget before Marty calls for the vote on that? And also we'll be doing the elder nomination of Mr. John Kuhn. You ready for your speech, right? You have to give it. No? Yeah, any questions on budget, finances? Come on, Amos, you said about you're gonna have like some, you know.
Oh, that $5.
That
I was wrong.
right, you're wrong.
Yeah, you're actually right.
Okay, all right. That doesn't happen all the time, so you're correct. Yeah. Again, very, very, very grateful for the church and y'all and your giving and your generosity. It's amazing. Yeah, we're so grateful for that. Nothing? You can write on the card too, and we can get back to you if you want that as well. Nothing at this point? Okay, Marty, turn it over to you.
Okay, there were ballots on the table as you came in, so if anyone still needs a ballot, we can get that to you, but the two items on the ballot there are approving the budget as proposed in front of us, and also affirming John King as the next elder here at GPC. So, if you do not have a ballot, we'll get you one here.
Ballots, they're free.
And if you could, if each member could fill that out and then Amos is straight in front of me. If you could help me gather those up from the tables here, that would be helpful, Amos. And then I'm going to step aside here. while we get this vote and And for those of you on Facebook, we're going to step aside here for a few minutes and then come back here after just a bit. We're going to have a little time of prayer here around our tables to kind of wrap things up. So while we're working and collecting the votes, we'll do that, and then we'll step aside. And then for those of you on Facebook, we'll come back here in just a few minutes and announce the voting results.
right here this evening. Thank you for those around the room here in person, and also those gathering online and praying for, caring for the life and ministry of the church. Pray for our families here who are dealing with health concerns, with parenting concerns, with anxieties, with their own sense of loneliness and social isolation, with the resettling that is happening for essentially all of us, with new priorities and habits and opportunities that are coming down the pike and have come down the pike. We have all been through this moment together. We're all in different boats, but we've all kind of been through the same storm, so to speak. And so I pray that as we share in this experience together and come through this together, that we can walk together well in love with one another, that we can walk together well in love with you, and in the encouragement that being united with Christ brings. I pray that you continue to deepen our bonds of relationship and move us beyond just connecting because we share hobbies or interests or affections, but that our bond would drive deeper, that those things that are good can drive us to what is even greater, and that is to a shared faith and hope in Christ. That we will see beyond the differences that can exist, and see beyond the things that can divide, to that which unites us, that which brings us together, to, if you will, keep our eyes up on you through the season. So thank you again for what we've heard tonight, and thank you for our staff, and thank you for our volunteers, and thank you for our church body who's continued to walk in this space. I pray that you would strengthen each of us in the ways and places that we find ourselves. And God, may you lead us, and may you be our God through this time, day by day and moment by moment. Again, we thank you for your care and your love for us. Give us vision, we pray, wisdom and patience and love for one another. And thank you for the time we could share tonight. In Jesus' name we pray. Amen.
Okay, the result of the vote was for the budget approval, there were 35 yes votes and 1 no. So, and then for the vote on John King as elder, that was unanimous. So both items passed, and we'll look forward to welcoming John as the next elder. Appreciate all of your contribution here this evening and for your attendance, and you are dismissed.